you mentioned SCADA systems, and so I'm going to pivot a little bit to the operational side of things and turn to Tina, who again works for TC Energy. And your CEO has been very public with his comments that the conflict is providing a catalyst for North American LNG exports. With your responsibilities at TC Energy, you kind of sit at the intersection of the crisis with our energy response to it. So, from an operational standpoint, how quickly can North American pipelines and LNG infrastructure realistically respond?
Julie, it's so interesting because natural gas used to be primarily a regional commodity, and LNG has made natural gas truly global. And the current geopolitics is really pushing countries to look towards more stable, reliable, diversified supply. And that's one reason why our North American integrated energy systems are such a strategic advantage because we have abundant natural gas resources here in North America. We have highly interconnected infrastructure that really helps provide stability when global markets are volatile. North American natural gas exports averaged about 17 BCF per day in 2025. And prior to the recent conflict, they were forecasted to grow to about 41 BCF by 2035. Our systems transport about 30% of the feed gas to about 7 operating export facilities. So we have a front row seat in the impact and in the importance of North American LNG exports. So the events unfolding in the Middle East, they really underscore how fragile global energy systems can be and why energy security really matters. So compared with the onset of the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, one difference today is that additional LNG capacity from the US Gulf Coast and Canada's West Coast has really strengthened global supply resilience. So as global trade is disrupted and countries work to diversify their energy supply, dependable LNG from North America is playing a really important stabilizing role. So the US is the largest exporter of LNG right now, and US LNG feed gas demand has pushed to record highs in 2026. We've seen them average over 20 BCF per day since the start of March. That's about 4 BCF per day higher than the same period in 2025. The LNG export facilities are running right now near max capacity. We're seeing utilization rates pushing between 95 to 100% of peak day capacity across the country to help offset lost Qatari supply. So near term, the early March closure of the Strait of Hormuz removed about 20% of global LNG supply. It's about 11 BCF from Qatar. Longer term, those March 19th missile strikes removed another 1.7 BCF. That will take years to come back online, 3 to 5 years. So we're going to see extended outages on an LNG front there. So here in North America, the next material US liquefaction additions hit between 2026 and 2029, so 26 to 2029. We have limited North American LNG supplies set to come online in 2026. That would be from Golden Pass and Mexico's Costa Azul facilities. So we will see anticipated opportunities for LNG between 2022 to 23 BCF per day over the course of this year in total. In 27, the North American feed gas for LNG is forecasted to average about 25 BCF when we see Sempra's Port Arthur facility, phase 1, come online. We'll see Venture Global's Calcasieu Pass phase 2 come online, and a small expansion at Altamira's facility in Mexico enter service. 2028, we'll see demand rising again to about 28 BCF a day. Again, continued ramp up of volumes at Port Arthur and Calcasieu Pass 2, but now wood fiber adding incremental Canadian LNG export capacity. And then by 2029, we'll see about 30 BCF coming into forecast with Cedar LNG and next decade's Rio Grande phase 1 coming into service. So unfortunately, it's going to take quite some time to bring on a lot more LNG. for 2026. Again, small volumes coming on, ramping up through 2029. But our leadership in LNG exports is really structurally tied to natural gas pipeline reliability, supply basin connectivity, and execution risk. So it's not just liquefaction assets coming into service. And pipeline completion timing is critical path for those LNG export projects. And the key variable for that timing is permitting. So we have to have clearer, more predictable timelines to allow us to move forward with additional large-scale investments to serve those advancing LNG export facilities. And as a company and as an industry, we are actively advocating for permitting reform and judicial reform so we can get that natural gas to market more predictably, more timely. And the good news, currently we have an administration that's very focused on energy reliability, affordability, and security, that are working to remove some of those unnecessary obstacles and hurdles to create an environment where critical infrastructure can get built here. So LNG is going to remain a critical part of the energy mix for decades, and that really underscores the importance of investing in infrastructure to deliver it safely and reliably.
Great. Yeah, I was going to ask you, if it was permitting or judicial or capital allocation, but it sounds like the permitting and judicial. Again, I know the industry is working very hard to eliminate that. That's really great color in terms of the opportunities and the effects that we're going to have. So thank you, Tina.